So I see these computers sell on eBay. They're bare bone PC. And if you look at this, it's bare bone. Now I've already started ahead and working on it a little bit, just kind of diving into it. And I paid $40 for it, probably a little more than what it's worth, but mostly because I'm trying to get rid of a lot of hardware that I have lying around that pretty much has no purpose. Make a couple of extra dollars, get computers out of here, and clean up the garage for newer and better things. But these bare bones, are they worth it? Should you even mess with them? And that's what we're going to talk about with this video. Now, this is an Optiplex 3040 Intel 6th, 7th gen, and I paid $40 for it. Now, with these bare bones, you're paying for the bare bones. And this one was like super bare bones. I do have the front panel for it. It did come with that and the side panel, but pretty much all you're paying for is cables, a power supply, motherboard, and fans. It did come with the CPU heatsink. I have that placed over there. And I figured I'd turn the camera on and kind of talk about these and explain to you why they can be worth it and why mostly they're not worth it. Now, I bought this one because the parts that I need to make it a usable computer, I do have. I do have an i5-6400. I have a graphics card for this. I have some memory, and I even have a M.2. And if I pop that all in there, and these are all just extra parts that I've gotten from computers that have been junked or trade-ins, for $40 and when I'm into it, I could probably flip this for maybe about $120 to $140, make a couple of dollars, and just like I said, clear out the inventory a little bit. But if you don't have the parts lying around, it's not worth it, in my opinion, because it could get pricey. So let's take a look at it. First off, I need to grab parts, and we're going to grab this over here. Now, these containers, I got them at the Harbor Freight, and they work great. That's what I kind of use to organize my memory. Now, my CPU, this is the i5, I think it's the 6400. Yep, 6400. And that's from a computer that the motherboard was bad, and I think we upgraded it, something like that. So reasons to keep old parts. And I have an M.2. I have a couple of these and some more over there, but these are 1 terabytes. These are computers that just were destroyed and garbage and a whole bunch of other different things. And I don't record everything I do in the garage, which I probably need to be better doing that, but more junk that I was able to repurpose. These work. So we have a 1 terabyte M.2, and for memory, these are two 16 gigs of DDR4. That's going to be too much for what I'm trying to do with this. These are 4 gigs, 8, 12 gigs should work. That should be fine. And they're racing. Okay, now they're done. So for a graphics card, now with these, you cannot put a traditional graphics card in there. I did a video a while back, I believe it was a 3050, on how you could change the power supply using a SFX power supply and adapter. And then you have more options for the graphics card. But the other issue that you do run into is you have to be mindful of the size. A single fan one works pretty good, but anything bigger, you're limited. You might pay more for the convenience of that graphics card. But for this case, because we're on a budget, and this is a box of graphics cards, I have a FirePro W5100. I did a video not too long ago, and I was surprised that this was even able to play The Last of Us and played games pretty good. And considering I have a few of these lying around from some workstations that I just kind of cannibalized, that works. So for now, for me, for $40, all this stuff really doesn't cost me anything besides what I paid for this bare bone. And one of the reasons why I am putting it together, like I said, cleaning up the garage, but I also have a customer who needs a cheap computer, and it's perfect. So now, if you look at the price, a W5100, they sell for about $30. There are better options that you can put in there, something like, I don't know, the 1050 Ti that works really good, and there's a bunch of other ones. I can't think of them right now. Intel makes one that might work. The other issue that you run into is the limitation of the power supply, so I kind of go for these because, well, I don't have to worry about power supply overhead. So 1050 Ti, like I said, works, low profile. 750 Ti, the RX 6400, I did pop one in here, and that did work really well. I haven't tried anything outside of that with this little low wattage power supply. Now the CPU is $25. And well, yeah, like I said, I have it. So $25, $30, so you're at $55. These are typically with tax and shipping about $8 a piece, so 8, 16, 24. So 25, 30, 55, 24, we're looking at roughly $80. And then 1 terabyte, which I'm using it because I have it. These go for about $60, $70, so about $150. So if you're looking at it, you're probably into this $200 and you have a really low spec PC. So once again, yeah, bare bones are not good unless you have the parts. So to go ahead and finish this video, let's put this computer together, see how well it works, and then just get some thoughts. So let's just get started. Let's put it together, get this thing running. Let's pop in our CPU. And like I said, these are not worth it. Now, if you buy them and they come with the CPU, memory, and all that stuff, and you get them really cheap, which I've had a couple of times, they could be really good deals. And like I did in another video, I was able to mod it and make it a pretty decent small computer. But in this case, we're just taking junk, putting junk parts in it, and just using it as a starter PC, potato PC. That's the best way I can put it. Now we're going to paste on some thermal paste. This is probably way too much, and I'll spread it a lot better. But this is what I use for these. So I bought this thermal grease. I've had this thing for probably 2 years. It hasn't degraded, and for computers like this works really, really good and saves me a lot of money. Like high quality thermal paste, I'll use that for more higher end builds, but for this, it works great. Never had one overheat, and I had a computer come back a year later after using this thermal paste, and it was still really good. It wasn't rock hard or anything, so cheap thermal paste for the win. Now with a nice spread, let's pop this cooler in. Now for our memory, we're going with 12 gigs of DDR4 because, well, that's what I have lying around. Now I do have a lot better memory, but I think the profile is a little higher. I'm not going to put in one 16 gig stick or 32 because for where this computer is going to be used for and what it's going, it's overkill. Now our 1 terabyte NVMe, yes, this is overkill, but when you got a bunch of them, you gotta save $1, right? And this bare bones didn't even come with a screw for this. How unfortunate. But luckily I keep tons of extra parts and those screws. So now for our graphics cards, like I said, we're using a W5100 because it's low power, doesn't require any supplemental power. You can do some light gaming with it, which I'll show it in this video if I could ever get this thing to sync. Yep, there we go. And that's pretty much it. I mean, less than 5 minutes. Now these cables, we should probably tuck them in right over here so they don't hit the fan. And now we have a computer. So I figure I'd go ahead and just fire up a quick game of Fortnite just to kind of show proof of concept. I mean, this is W5100's i5-6400, and pretty much I've done videos on this separate graphics card and this setup, and it works pretty decent. Obviously, the W5100 is not perfect for gaming, but it does a lot better than most, and for $40, it's decent, but you can find something better. Bang for the buck. But considering the size and that we don't need supplemental power, it works really good for this small little computer. And as you can see, $40 on what I got into it. This will work really well, make that customer happy, and using spare parts and kind of junking a PC together checks boxes, and boxes are good. Alright, so to wrap up this video, barebone PCs, are they worth it? No, not really. I mean, for the simple fact that you spend $40 for this stuff, and yeah, you get a power supply, but it's only 200 watts. You get a case, which you really can't put too many decent graphics cards in there, and a motherboard that's very limited. Not worth it. Now, if you have a whole bunch of extra parts lying around and you can kind of put together a potato PC real cheap and easy, this is an option. Or if you're somebody who's trying to, and I've seen it, and I've had this happen, trying to save a computer like this. I had a customer who loved the size, loved the computer, but the motherboard died. I bought a setup like this, just kind of swap everything over. That worked out really good. So if you see the bare bones on the eBay, shy away from them. They're not worth it. And you could definitely, with a couple of more dollars or maybe even $200, like I talked about earlier, which technically you would be into this, you could definitely get something a lot better. So comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, concerns, criticisms. Do you mess with the bare bones? What are your opinions of the bare bones computer? If you like this video, definitely hit the like button. Subscribe if you're not. And as always, we'll see what we come up with next.